This second meeting of fiscal year 22 to order. And per the governor's order pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Westborough's website at www.town.westborough.ma.us. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner. Watch live on www.youtube.com/Westborough TV or on Westborough TV Verizon Channel 28 or Charter Channel 192. Or watch a recorded version on the website westboroughTV.org under the Government tab, Meetings on Demand. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this meeting, but every effort is being made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of Westborough's website an audio or video transcript or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, so let's move into the first order of business, and that's a review of the minutes of our meeting number 1, July 13th. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, hearing no need for a discussion. Let's vote, please. Ms.
Blumberg, yes.
Ms. Board?
Board, yes.
Mr. Bradley is not in. Mr. Dolan is absent. Mr. Ugal?
Eagle, yes.
Mr. Leslie?
Leslie, yes.
Mr. Rauch?
Roush, yes.
Siddiq, yes.
Beretti, yes. So 7-0-0 approved. So the first item of housekeeping business is the liaison assignments. I think you all have the spreadsheet that I sent out, and I debt of thanks to our former chairman who put this one together back in 2020. We have 5 slots that have opened up with Jody's departure from the committee. And I think I highlighted those on the information I sent you. Is anyone interested in any particular opening right now? And that's MIS, GIS, the health department, the library and library construction. And I will tell you that Walter has asked that he be considered for that. Economic development, and the bike and pedestrian committee. Any volunteers?
Can I just ask a quick question before we get there?
Sure.
Has Tom Dolan, who is our newest member, spoken up for any of these positions or aware of them?
He is. He's spoken up for anything to do with insurance. And I'm assuming that's the town insurance, which normally would fall to my position, but I'm willing to let Tom do that. He's the expert there, as well as the item number 45, the Insurance Advisory Committee. I believe Tom would probably serve best there as a liaison.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yep.
Other than that, he has not asked for any other consideration. Okay.
What was the first one, Mike, that you said?
The first one was liaison with our MIS department. Mark Stockman is the contact, and Jody was doing that.
No,
Again,
sorry, I meant that Tom was going to do.
oh, I apologize. Town insurance, number 17, and
Number-
also number 45.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm willing to do MIS, GIS if no one else is enthusiastic, but
I mean, I'm willing to do it. I think the one I'm concerned about is the library. That's going to be a major task.
yeah.
Walter has asked for that, Beth. I don't know.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry.
I currently have no assignments.
Oh, okay. So you're also in the same position as Tom. So you should also be going through and saying, I want.
Well, that would be crazy.
So Walter, you're interested in MIS. Anybody else interested other than Beth?
I'm interested in health department.
Okay. Let's stay with MIS first. Walter, if you're going to take the library, do you want MIS?
I'm assuming that's not that big of one, is it? I don't know.
It's not a real intense assignment.
Yeah, that would be my impression. They
It's
maybe have an article every year or something, but not. It's not like regular meetings and all this other stuff going on. I think.
No.
It should be able to handle it even with the library.
All right, Beth, want to make a strong pitch for this one?
Me?
Yeah.
Not particularly. I think that he's new. He doesn't have anything that seems reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Item number 27, the health department. Melanie has asked for that liaison assignment. Anyone else interested?
I was going to go for that, but Melanie can have it.
Yeah, they meet rather regularly, Zephyr. I don't know what their schedule is. Beth would know better since her husband is on it.
Yeah, so from the insider track, prior to COVID, they met once a month for an hour to an hour and a half. And it was a very nice, easy assignment. Now they meet between once a week for one meeting to as many as 3 meetings in the same week if they're meeting with the school board and the select board, as well as themselves. Their meetings have spaced out about every other or every third week right now. But if things pick up with COVID, they go back to once a week.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
With my my work, yeah.
I would now like to defer to Zephyr. He can have it.
Yeah.
No.
Can I just mention that historically, it's not that everybody has to attend or listen to every meeting. The liaison is really mostly related, or at least it has been. You folks can do what you want. Historically, the liaison was really just to go over the budget. It wasn't that you had to attend every meeting of some group. So if you're interested, you can read the minutes. But it was originally created mostly to just go over the budgets sort of in one-on-one so you could gather and pre-ask questions before they came to a meeting, just to sort of make things more efficient.
Well, the only scary part about the Board of Health in particular is they are making decisions that may impact the budget. They're also, and I'm going to just give this as a heads up, they're also right now talking with a waste committee, potentially talking about all town garbage. So that's another, so they have stuff on their plate. They're actually doing active business of the town.
So Melanie, the reason is I say you take it because, I spoke up, but I didn't know how much is involved, and I know my limitations. And, just to keep up with the AFC meeting is a lot for me these days. There's a lot of work going on in the hospital.
Okay, Melanie, are you all right?
I mean, worst case, I can.
Well, to John's point, I don't have to attend to every meeting.
No, and if you're concerned, like I said, I have a very strong shortcut to the Board of Health if something major is happening.
Okay, and I worked for a major health department in Chicago, so I think I got it.
Okay. All right. Melanie, it's yours. Library and library construction, item 32. Walter, we've got Walter penned in for that one. Economic development.
I can ask somebody what is involved, but if if others are not involved, I can take that.
All right. Well, let's pencil you in, Zafar.
Okay.
How's that? Economic development, I think, is going to move almost front and center on a lot of decision making in the town over the next few years.
Okay.
The next 18 months.
So you want somebody who's more experienced?
No. I think just coming off the whole COVID thing, and who knows if we're going to get back into it. And you know what it did with the economics of this town.
Okay.
Okay, so Zafar is in there. And the last one is, who wants to ride a bike and be on the Bike and Pedestrian Committee?
Tom it is.
Tom it is.
I'm
Andrew is, I'm sorry, Andrew, I apologize for not getting you in earlier. Are you with us now? He's connecting to audio. Andrew, you here?
Andrew Bradley, and I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, good. So Bike and Pedestrian Committee is the last of the Jody Hensley liaisons that we're looking to fill. Any interest in that? Silence is deafening. Okay. All right. If there's no interest in that committee, we'll just leave that open right now and come back to it at a future date.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So just how would it work? I mean, if one of these other groups that doesn't currently have a liaison has an article, then we could, at one of our meetings, somebody could volunteer to go dig into it further or something, right? As opposed to
signing someone.
Like Historic Commission doesn't have a liaison, but if they had an article, somebody could volunteer to do that. Something. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
So that's probably fine leaving some blank then, right?
Yeah, there's not many blanks, but there are a few. Cultural Council, Historical Commission, Debt Service has fallen to me, I guess. Sewer Department has fallen to me, although, Hank, haven't you been working with the sewer folks? Sewer and water treatment? Enterprise funds?
Hank's muted.
Oh, Hank, you're muted.
Yes, I'm in touch with the folks with the technical folks with the sewer commission engineering people. Okay. So I know what's going on over there.
Okay. Well, let's leave it with Hank's good hands right now. Okay, so that actually takes, is there any other assignments with respect to liaison that anyone is interested in?
This is Andrew, and I'm not saying that I'm interested in any assignments, but I am saying that I did want to say that school building committee is going to be wrapping up a little bit in November or December, once we're finished with fails. So I may have capacity to join later, but I just put that out there as a possible option. Okay.
Any other questions or concerns about assignments? We only have one more to talk about, and that's the Capital Planning Committee. And Andrew has requested, and it's not showing, it's showing down below, and Andrew has requested that he continue in his role with that committee. Anybody else interested? Okay, I guess Andrew's a glutton for punishment on that one. Andrew, you're it again.
Noted.
Okay. So let me ask for a motion to accept all the changes we've made this evening.
Motion to accept all the liaison assignments that we have discussed this evening, and to keep those we didn't discuss the same.
Second. Bradley, second.
Okay. Ms. Bloomberg?
Blumberg,
I can't.
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Siegel, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Ferretti, yes. Okay, moving on to the proposed calendar that I sent you all. Let me just give you kind of a sense of my thinking on this. What I would like to do is once we agree on a calendar going to the fall town meeting, I will do what I did last year, send you all a proposed work plan for each meeting date to the extent that we can do that, because I think it helped us. It was very helpful in keeping us very efficient at the last cycle of our meetings. And we got through quite a bit in a very short period of time. And I think we have a very short window between now and October 18th. You've all seen the first draft of the warrant. There's 16 articles already. I can't tell you, don't know how many articles will be coming down the pike and how difficult any of those might be. So that's my broad thinking. Get through the calendar and then do, work up a work plan. On the hybrid meetings, if anyone, I've already talked to Westborough TV about it. Most of the work is in their hands for those hybrid meetings. We are scheduled for hybrid meetings in the great room. And we will also arrange to have a Zoom connection for anyone on the committee that chooses to do that. There is a caveat. I have to clarify it. John was helpful tonight. I want to just verify things with the town hall. With respect to the hybrid meetings, there must be in the physical location of the meeting, there must be a quorum, physical quorum present, and the chair or whoever is chairing the meeting must also be present. So that would mean that at least 5 of our 9 members, and including the chair, would have to be present in the Great Hall. Now, does that mean we don't have the option to cancel a meeting or a hybrid meeting and go remote if the situation warrants? We do have that option, and we will continue to have that option. I also plan to submit, once we agree on the calendar, I also plan to submit that calendar as was done last year in advance so they could post all those dates. And then if we choose to reschedule a meeting, we can do so. I'll still go forward and submit an agenda for posting, but we won't have that kind of pressure cooker to try to make sure we absolutely get it in the 48 hours prior to the meeting, especially if we run into some holidays. And there are a couple, I guess, a couple of religious holidays in there that might interfere with our schedule. So that said, I'm sure you have looked at the calendar, you have it in front of you. Are there any questions about the dates I've proposed? And also, by the way, I highlighted our budget summit, the warrant, when the warrant closes, and all the other post-meeting things that we have to be engaged in with respect to the report to the town meeting. Any questions?
It's going to go fast.
We're going to go very fast. So can I have a motion to approve the proposed calendar?
Motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Second?
Bradley, second.
Any discussion? Okay. Let's go to a vote. Ms.
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Siegel, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Ferretti, yes. Okay. I sent you, we'll hold our article review strategy until I have a chance to send you the work plan. And then we could take a look at that because I will include dates for specific article reviews. There's a couple of things that we do want to talk about that affect the calendar, and we may have to meet on the 2nd of September remotely. And that's to discuss the OPEB policy statement, and which we'll talk a little bit about tonight, and the funding. I'd like to move now to a review of the meeting that Walter and I had with the director of the library and the chair of the library trustees, Mary Johnson, on August 2nd. And Walter, you've agreed to brief the committee on that?
Sure. So we met ostensibly because we were trying to figure out what effect, if any, on this upcoming town meeting this library project would have. And the short answer is none. There are no articles on the library at this town meeting. So I'll just give you the background from there. In January 2017, they submitted a grant application, and in July of 2017, were awarded the grant, $9.4 million, and we're number 11 on the wait list. We are now number 1 on the wait list, and the expectation is in July of 22, the grant will be offered. So their expectation is to come to fall town meeting of 22 to approve the full amount of the project, which is necessary because the grant is a payback. Between now and then, the library trustees, which is a nonprofit, is going to be fronting the money to, or paying the money to do a new estimate and refine design concepts to present. At the time in 2018, the project was a $24 million project, minus the 9.4 that would be a grant, comes out to be 14 million approximately. I believe the trustees were planning on putting in about $1 million. So maybe that covers the extra odd number. The project would really, their thinking is, would start, get the little timeline out here. If approved at town meeting in 2022, they would get the finish up the final design, search for a temporary site, relocate to a temporary site, and construction would start at the end of 23 through 2024. And sometime in 2025, we'd be moving back in. They're taking off the whole back half of the library, which is the so-called addition from 1980. The plan is that it would become a 3-floor addition. The justification from their research is that the library is currently undersized for current and future needs. And the public expressed in their surveys a strong desire to stay on site downtown and not just build something somewhere else. So I think that covers most of what we talk about. I can tell you that the chair did mention that we would like to, you know, be able to see the tax impact of things like this and the calculations and know quite a bit. But again, that's going to be about a year from now when we're prepping for the fall 22 meeting.
So I guess, Walter, the headline from this is not that we're not going to see anything until probably after the 1st of next year with respect to this project.
Yes, I think what we agreed to was it would make sense to meet with them at some point when things weren't too busy, you know, either in between this town meeting and the next, or after the next town meeting, to get more details.
Yeah, my impression from the meeting was that there remains a significant level of enthusiasm, of course, with the library director and the trustees for this project. But again, I don't think we as a committee are going to have to deal with it. And I would just ask you we're not gonna have to deal with it till after the first of the year. There may be some things that develop between now and then, which I will try to stay on top of, and I'm sure Walter will as liaison. You know, one of the things that we spoke about at the town meeting back in June was the need to get a handle on what the tax impacts of these projects are going to be right at the beginning, and not forget those impacts as we go through the project. So I think, you know, I think I'll be looking for that, especially what the tax implications are for any of the projects. And, you know, there's a bunch of stuff being talked about by a lot of people in this town, between the library and senior center and multi-generational centers. And so, you know, it's a good possibility we're going to have a lot of competing demands on funding as we go forward. So we're going to be busy. I think we're going to have a lot of work to do on that. I know we're going to have a lot of work. Any
Michael,
questions, Walter?
yeah, not clear to me that that the timing and such of the library is reflected in the current town debt strategy, debt management strategy. And they probably ought to at least get the timing reflected. If not, if they can't put current estimates, they could just take best estimates and get it into the timing, because the timing is now fairly clear.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Hank, and I think that's probably going to be one of the things they talk about. I hope it will be one of the things that is talked about at the budget summit.
If it isn't, some miscreant will raise the issue.
Yeah, I wonder who that miscreant will be.
It's one of us.
I think a lot. Yeah. So I understood, as I said in my email to you folks, that there was going to be a discussion of the town's debt strategy at the last select board meeting. They changed that. They did not include that in their agenda because I have no idea why. But I know that at some point the town manager and the town finance director are going to have a discussion with the select board about finances going forward. That's normally the case. You know, get an update on town finances. It may come up then, but at least, if we have anything to say, it will come up on the 23rd of September, as it should. Okay. Any other concerns at this point or questions about the library project?
I just wanted to add that I believe she said that the costs in moving and renting space was included in that target number. So that there is an addition to that.
Yeah, that's the other thing that obviously has to be considered. Where are they going to temporarily relocate if a project is approved and when they start construction? So
construction piece, is anybody taking in consideration the huge delays there are in windows and lumber, and some of this stuff is not windows alone, because I have some insight, or a year out.
So they actually would, I mean, they are aware of that, and that's why they're one of the reasons they're going back out for designs and things. But realistically, construction right now isn't even, you're starting to tear down at the end of 2023, which is 2 years from now. So, materials is, 2.5 to 3 years. So when they get the thing, if they you know, they'll have to start committing to those materials, like you said, probably in July of 2022 to get it in 2024, maybe, or maybe things get more normal by then. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, they are aware that their costs were done before a lot of increases in material. So they're expecting that to go up, but, you know, maybe by the time they actually have to spend it, things might be back down. So it's going to be a dynamic thing.
Is there any chance that the grant amount will change reflective of these other changes?
I don't believe so. I think that's fixed. She didn't say that it was changing.
All right. It was a wishful thought.
The other thing we talked about with her too was the necessity for having an excellent, you know, project manager hired, which they hire from outside, and they have started looking into that and getting recommendations from other towns where things went well. So,
good.
It's a tricky thing.
Any other comments? Okay, let's briefly chat about the OPEB appendix that you got. That appendix will go into an overall policy statement on the insurance investment for that particular trust. And I just received that full policy statement electronically today. And the reason I sent out the appendix to you was to just give you an idea of what's being thought about in terms of future funding, since we've all expressed some concern about that particular trust in the last year. And just to give you a chance to give some thinking time to it, to formulate some opinions. And if you have any questions, to send them to me, I'll send them on to Leah, and we'll try to get to looking at that policy and get it voted on September 2nd, if we can do that. So, Walter?
So I have a question, being kind of new to this. This look to me appears like there's sort of really committing to putting in that money every year, as opposed to in the past it was a nice idea. Is that correct?
Okay, we're getting into an area that I actually had a conversation about today. I'm not sure I understand the complete nuances of it. We have no legal obligation to pay this every year. However, the state created this trust fund. And since we have signed on to it, in effect, we have an obligation. Now, there's a nuance there. I do not pretend to understand everything completely about this trust fund, nor should I think, at this moment. But that's why I suggest that after we've digested, the policy is pretty straightforward as I've read it. And it's the funding mechanisms that are being proposed that I think we need to pay attention to. And I think that after we've had a chance to digest it, I will, with your acquiescence, invite Leah to come and chat with us about it. And maybe ask Tom to dig in and do a little bit of homework. So, we have a professional on the committee who understands insurance to help us through it. Any questions about that funding proposal? By the way, the select board has not seen this yet. Okay, it has not gone to them yet officially. And so we're going to have first pass at it. Any questions, concerns, or any concerns about what's being proposed?
Wait, I thought we were discussing it on September 2nd.
Yeah, we are, but I want to, if there are questions out there now that we could forward to Leah, we ought to get them on the table. If not, we could wait.
Okay.
All right. Then we'll move on, and I'll extend an invitation to Leah to join us on September 2nd. Okay. So let's get into liaison reports. And are there any that need to be reported? Andrew, you talked about the school committee getting ready to wrap up.
The building committee.
Oh, sorry, school
building committee. Right.
Yeah. That was not a Freudian slip.
So there was a development with regards to our remaining reserve funds, in as much as there's a legal issue that is being addressed by council, and it involves somebody who's making a claim for expenses, and as a result, we're in the process of being very careful about how we oversee the three different reserve funds that are attached to the current fails school plan, because we have to encumber a certain amount until this has been determined legally as to how we have to go forward. So it's a material development, but not one that has any concrete next steps that have been made, but just one that has a group that has always been really militantly careful about the funding and budgets and spending, and making sure we stay on top of that, so that where in the past we've been able to absorb, some of the crazy nuances of COVID without having to balk or without having to be concerned. The fact is the project's wrapping up right now, so we see an end to these funds needing to be spent. So no one's panicking, but it is a development that we're trying to keep an eye on, and we continue to be really careful about how we're spending on it through our discretionary accounts.
Andrew, do we have a target for when we're going to have an occupancy permit?
It's targeting, so in conjunction with the school, it was apparent as of about 6 months ago, because of some of the delays caused by COVID and some of the weather issues, that we wouldn't hit the beginning of the school year. So the building committee aligned with the school as to the best time to do the transition. And we're targeting November right now for the folks to move over from one building to the other. Now, there is still work that needs to be done to tear down the old building and then level the other element, the existing space. What's that?
Sorry.
So there is a matter of removing the existing building that's there, but this is all going to be playing out in the next 6 months or so, and we'll have to see what weather does to allow that to be concerned, and see how active the school building committee is meeting. The hope is that we get to a point where we don't have to meet as often as we do, and that'll hopefully be after the majority of the school move has happened.
Any other concerns about or questions about that?
The meeting notes referenced a water concern that came up last time we met. The water concern was dealt with without any concern or impact to schedule or budget. Just to put a close on that note.
Thank you.
Andrew, at this point, does it look like there'll be enough money to finish the job without coming back to town meeting?
At this point, it does. Yes. You never know what you don't know. But at this point, there was a step early on where we did a lot of value scoping, which was to say there was a wish list for the building, and then pieces of that wish list were taken out to make sure we remained within budget for what we had to for the MSBA, which is the school budgeting authority that's helping pay for this school. So at this point of the project is when we would start, in earnest moving items back into scope, because we would believe we would have extra money. And we're being more judicious about that. So not a ton is moving back into scope. It's little things, panels or electrical outlets or arrangements of, venting or lighting fixtures that need to be tweaked. That's where we're seeing sort of little, project requests. But not some of the wish list items that we knew that had been tabled. But all of that being said, the school is gorgeous. I mean, it's coming along looking great, but it's a phenomenal school. It'll be, something we can be incredibly proud of in this town.
The biggest risk is the biggest unknown risk is what happens when we tear the old building down. It's not unusual for there to be surprises when you tear down old buildings.
You're 100% right. And you know, we've already had a number of surprises, pulling an entire hill aside and digging 800 feet into the ground for the water wells that we need for, you know, geothermal. So there have been no shortage of surprises, and in fact, the neighbors have been very active in terms of making sure that things like runoff into local water wells and you know, certain things that have hiccuped, in part because of weather quirks, in part because of what we're discovering once you remove half of a mountain. So there have been no shortage of surprises, but you know, Hank, you're 100% right. When you pull away a large building, you sometimes can be surprised by what you see is left there, and we'll see we can just cover up. We've got a lot of dirt. I jest.
Yeah, we know. I was going to say something, but I realized it would be in poor taste. Andrew, are we okay on the sprinkler system for this school?
So yes, this school has the appropriate sprinkler systems built in a way that Hastings did not.
Okay.
So it's a fair call out, but we seem to be ahead of the game in this one.
Good, very good. Thank you, Andrew. Any other liaison reports? Beth? You have to unmute, Beth.
Sorry. So the school, Amber met with the Board of Health. They came up with a plan that students would be masked for the first 3 weeks or so of school, and then it would be reevaluated after they got all the vaccination rates from students and teachers. And then, so they thought they had a great plan, and we're going to work with that. And then DESE decided that students would be masked until October 1st. So it was a similar plan, but I believe that one has just overridden the plan that the town of Westborough made in joint meetings. Other than that, I haven't been to a school committee meeting lately that I'm aware of, but they are planning to open September 1st, which is right around the corner. And students will primarily be in session.
Hank, any comments from your part on?
No additional information.
If you all had a chance to watch the select board joint meeting with the Board of Health on Tuesday, they also passed I guess I'll call it a policy at this point. Recommendation that the library follow the same rules or requirements that the schools will be following with respect to masking through and including or up to October 1st, and then see what the state sends down in terms of their new requirements.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think the piece that came out of the Board of Health, and I don't want to step on anybody Board of Health representatives' toes, was as a town, we've done a really good job of getting vaccinated. But there's sort of information, but we're part of a state, and we're part of a state that's done a good job, but nonetheless, in the interest of unknown information and keeping everybody safe as students reconvene, they want to, and they have the under 12-year-olds who haven't been able to be vaccinated. They want to keep everybody safe from a Delta issue.
I would recommend, if you have a chance, pull that up and at least watch that segment, the joint meeting of those two, of the select board and the Board of Health. I think you'll find it in many different ways informative. And, you know, I sat there and I listened very carefully, and I came away with some opinions, but I'm going to hold those until you all have a chance, if you wish, to take a look at it. Okay. Any other liaison reports Fire department, anything? Melanie, do you have any status on the new truck?
Not, I know they put the, I believe they put the order in because they were approved to do so, but it's a year in the making plus, so.
Okay, thank you. The only other thing I have on liaison is the town manager requested that all department heads and relevant committees submit proposals for the American Rescue Plan Act funding that we are going to receive. And I think she had a deadline of August 20th on those. I believe at that time she had 4 in hand. And once they get that all settled and reviewed, we and the select board are going to have a chance to look at those proposals. And of course, any spending of that money will still have to go before town meeting. So, but we will have a chance to review it. The first tranche came in. I think it's a little over $2 million. Please don't quote me. And then the balance will come in at some other point in the ensuing months. And we have until, just as a reminder, until 2024 to spend the funds or we lose them. Okay. And, you know, I think I want to say Christy has been very clear that, you know, she's looking for some really solid proposals, not, and these are not her words, not pie in the sky kind of stuff that will just be looking like we're throwing that money out there just to spend it. Okay. And by the way, they still have not received final guidance from the feds on that.
Nice.
But you know, classic. They've been busy. Let's say the feds have been busy for a while.
So Mike,
okay.
I have a question. Yeah. Can
Sure.
they, clearly if we have 4 put in, and let's say it didn't meet maybe the parameters of what she wants, but you can do a kind of a mixed of the request to spend the funds, right?
What do you mean by a mix?
That you can pick maybe 2 of our 4 requests, and those can be financed, and the other 2 fall by the wayside.
Possible. I don't want to, you know, preempt what she might be thinking at this point.
Okay, but if we don't have the monies for all the requests.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. That we won't have the funds right now to expend, and we'd have to wait till the second tranche comes in. And if, you know, the requests for funding supersede that amount, then I don't know how you can get around it if you don't have, you know, if you don't have enough money to fulfill the proposals that are approved.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so that's still a little bit in the air for us, and I'm sure we'll get more information in the not too distant future. Future draft agendas. I would like to have that meeting on September 2nd, which is a Thursday, and the conversation will be around the OPEB trust, and we'll do it remotely. Okay. So please note that in your calendars. Then following that will be the first hybrid meeting. And then we have that budget summit on the 24th. Again, details of that will be forthcoming from the town manager. Right now, it is envisioned as an evening meeting. And I think I mentioned to you, it's in a workshop kind of format. We had one 2 years ago. I truly don't exactly remember how it shaped up. I was new to the finance committee at the time, but that should be a very informative meeting for all of us. The intent is to look at what's coming that might impact or will impact the budget going forward. Okay, any public reminders?
A couple of questions, Mike.
Sure. Hey.
I mean, I was surprised that the warrant did not seem to have a warrant line item for the planning department master plan. There is a master plan in process. It's unclear to me when it's going to come forward to the town meeting for review and approval.
Okay.
But we certainly need to find out when and make sure we have adequate time to read it and input to it.
Yep, I will ask. I will get that. I'll talk with Christy about that and see what she can give us on it.
My understanding is that the plan itself typically doesn't, as a whole, does not come before the town meeting, but the town meeting will take actions as specific recommendations in the plan come forward. So,
John, if that's the case, we may want to ask the planning department to bring the plan to us so that we understand what they're proposing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that if since it looks like nothing, I mean, first of all, it's just in, again, this is my understanding, and Mike, maybe you could just check with Christy or whatever, since it's just in, or even check with the master plan committee itself. Since it's just in draft format, I doubt there'll be anything for the fall town meeting. And since it sounds like having a full sort of review of the highlights of the plan might be good for the committee and for other people who watch your meetings, maybe that's something for a committee meeting in November or so to essentially dedicate an hour or so to a presentation of the master plan.
So I watched a bit of the presentation. I think what John said is correct. I think they're planning on bringing information to town meeting, but not necessarily a motion for approval. There is a draft currently up that people can review. And there's also their meeting. They did a nice overview, quickly going through what's in it anyway, without the details, which is on Westborough TV that you can watch. But I think there's a public hearing, I want to say in early September, maybe the second week of September on it for public input on the draft.
Anything else on the?
Yeah, just one other question on a different topic. I don't think we have anybody who's linked into the CPA committee.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. That was going to be my next comment. The CPA, the Community Preservation Act Committee, would like to appear at our September 9th meeting, our first meeting. I've already given a tentative approval pending your acquiescence. They would like to share with us what they shared with the Board of Selectmen. It would be helpful if everybody on our committee could go to the town website, look at the Community Preservation Act presentation that is posted there, and get a good idea of it. If you watch the select board meeting on Tuesday, Senator Eldridge made an appearance and talked about that very thing, the Community Preservation Act. And I think it would be very helpful for us to understand it, because part of the Community Preservation Act proposal is a surcharge on homeowners to fund that act. And go ahead, Beth, got a question?
So, well, I watched it and I was very concerned about one of the statements made about we may pay in, but then there's some formula that's going to decide how the money gets redispersed. And I was wondering if it might be in our best interest to try and figure out a way to internally fund these same causes, but guarantee that the money that Westborough pays in returns to Westborough.
Beth, a lot of the money actually comes from registry and I think it's deeds fees, not the money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a longer conversation, but yeah. The state provides a partial matching against community CPA money. I can guarantee you that no money can be spent without town meeting approval. Any money that's going to be spent from a CPA fund, if there was one, requires town meeting approval.
My question was whether members of the town were put through these fees which he's asking to double from their current rates because they haven't gone up since like 1989 or something. And it wasn't that long, but it was 10 or 11 years. Whether it's to our benefit to support this doubling of fees.
Okay.
You gotta bring them to the meeting here and have that conversation.
Yeah.
Hang on one second, okay? We've got to be careful to delineate between the fees that are charged for the transfer of property, okay, which are doubling, or which have been proposed to double, and the surcharge on the homeowners. Those are two separate funding mechanisms.
Right.
Okay. The first doesn't affect the tax rate. The second does go to the tax rate. Okay. Because it will be a surcharge. So we need to be, when we're having this conversation on the 9th, we need to be very clear about understanding, very clear about it and understanding it. Okay. I don't want to, you know, I got in a conversation with a Westborough citizen who said to me that, you know, I heard our taxes are going to go up by X amount of dollars, and it apparently looks like she got her information from watching the discussion on the CPA, and it was just from the discussion. It was nothing proposed. It was just a discussion. And, you know, that concerns me. And Hank is absolutely right. No spending gets executed unless it's done by the town meeting. That's simple. And Beth is also correct. The way the state currently has this program set up, there is no guarantee that the money we pay in will come back to Westborough. It's not a priority list or a, you know, you pay in, you get it back. It's just not the way it works right now. So I think this is going to be you know, unless we have something pressing on the 9th, I think this is going to be a conversation we have as pretty much our principal agenda item on that day.
Yeah, the good news is, my understanding is the proposal is coming to town meeting. The target is the spring, not the fall.
Correct. Correct. We need to be ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff. We can't, you know, we just can't sit back and wait for that stuff to come to us.
Mike, you just muted. Okay.
I did deliberately because that was my phone ringing.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
You had started to ask about any community announcements.
Public reminders, community announcements. Yes.
So I'm just going to throw out there that Girl Scout Recycling, I believe, is happening tomorrow, and affiliated at the high school, and affiliated with that is some plastic recycling. And I believe, so don't hold me on this, but they will take some of the strange pieces of plastic that don't recycle well at Harvey's, your food containers and things like that, especially the takeout ones that you may have inadvertently accumulated more than you thought this past year.
Yeah, I think some of us have. Walter?
Right.
I just want to put out that the Westborough Block Party, normally held around or just before July 4th, is actually Friday night, tomorrow night, at 5:30 to 9 p.m. at the Commons. Be music and things to do and food.
Is the recommendation that people go masked?
I'm not an expert. It's outdoors, so
it's an outdoor activity on the
I can read on the
square.
Doesn't say anything particularly in the rec department site about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other public announcements?
Walter, I'm sorry. What time did you say that function?
It starts at 5:30 and goes till 9 p.m.
And do they usually shut the Rotary down during that period?
It's no, because it's not on. It's at the Bay State Common on the big lawn there by the tot lot. It's not at the Rotary. It used to be on West Main there, and they were uncomfortable, I think, shutting down the street, so it got moved over there.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Wow, folks, very efficient tonight. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
We'll go to a vote.
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui? Oh, he's
Alfred,
muted.
you're muted. You're muted.
Siddiqui, yes.
Already, yes. Thank you very much, folks. See you again on September 2nd.
All right.